Hello, this is international football commentator Derek Ray of the EAFC video game and the Bundesliga. You're listening to the SFF Podcast World Cup Special, the home of World Cup 26 banter.
Welcome to the latest episode of SFF Podcast. 125 days to go until Scotland face Haiti in the first game of the 2026 World Cup. 28 years after their last appearance on the world's greatest stage. For those in the Tartan Army fortunate to have got tickets for the games, time is ticking to sell all your priceless valuables and organs to fund the trip. I'm John, and this is another trip down World Cup memory lane as we chat to a man who grew up in the golden age of Scotland being regulars at the World Cup. Off the ball co-host and comedian Tam Cowan. Tam, welcome to the podcast. How are you?
It's a pleasure. I'm absolutely splendid as I speak to you. We always like keeping it real. Just finished doing our Saturday show. I'm now having a cup of coffee, and then I'm going to try and grab some action here on the telly in the BBC, sitting with the boys that will be on Sports Scene tonight. And as a football fan through and through, that's always still a huge thrill for me, because what you or I could watch, could see, could notice about a football game, it is nothing compared to the experts. I know a lot of fans love having a go at these boys, but they do know what they're talking about by and large, and it gives you a great insight. So looking forward to that after this chat.
Yeah, it'll be good, and hopefully the World Cup will be good to watch as well. Now, before we chew the fat over World Cup yesteryear, you recently announced your on the road tour for this September. Tell us how this came about and how excited are you for it?
It came about because I've done the Edinburgh Fringe for the past 3-4 years maybe now, since COVID was over, and when just basically I was quite fortuitous in that respect. When I did one of my shows last year at the Fringe, the boss of Regular Music, who are really big outfit, big promoters, mainly of course with bands and groups and singers and stuff, they've worked with them all, but their boss, Mark Mackey, he came along to one of my shows last summer with a mutual friend, Billy Sloan, who's also known in the music industry. And basically Mark said to Billy, he says, I wonder if Tam would fancy doing a tour, a proper tour, because he knows that I've done gigs here, there and everywhere around the country. From time to time we've done things associated with Off the Ball here, there and right around the country. But I'd never done a concerted tour as such, i.e. poster, dates, T-shirts perhaps, who knows. So cut a long story short, me and Mark, we got it fixed up, and it's now happening in September 2026. Quite a hectic month. Everywhere from Hoyk in the south up to Strathpether in the north. Do you know where Strathpether is? If you do, you can tell me. No, I just know it's by Inverness a wee bit. Yeah. But that's cool. I love that neck of the woods. I love Scotland, so really looking forward to it. But it's going to be quite daunting, because I'm doing the full month at Edinburgh first in August. Last year I did 2 weeks. That was hard enough going. So I'm going to do the full month. I thought, as well been hung for a sheep as a lamb, as they say. So I'm going to do the full month there, and then almost straight into the gigs in September. But I look forward to it. I'm not out digging the roads. I'm not out sweeping the streets for a living like proper grafters who know real work. So in that day involves me having a laugh, a joke, and a carry on. And I really enjoy it. So to answer your question, I'm very much looking forward to it, and thanks for offering me the plug.
Not a problem, and I understand tickets also go on sale this week. And what can the paying public expect without giving too much away?
I almost said it there. It tends to be my stock phrase when I do live shows now. I laugh, a joke, and I carry on. And what it means is you can reflect on, I've now had 32 years doing Off the Ball. There's a lot of memorable tales for those days, and some that, let's say, perhaps I couldn't necessarily repeat, or they wouldn't want me to repeat on the radio. A couple of wee skirmishes that had happened in the past, things that had maybe got us in a wee bit of bother, had us a wee rap over the knuckles. But the folk who come to see me live, and I found that at Edinburgh the last few years, they love hearing wee bit of tattle. They think, right, I've tuned into Off the Ball all these years, but if you tell me a wee story about Stuart, that happened off mic, or you tell me what happened with that guest that day when they left, did anything else happen? Then it's good to be able to tell all of them. And just generally, I love telling stories, I love telling gags. And that's what I'm going to do on this tour. And yeah, unquestionably, if we're talking about gags, jokes, which I revel in, then there'll be some stories and some jokes that, for obvious reasons, that I wouldn't maybe tell live on air at lunchtime on a Saturday on the BBC. But that's all part of the frisson of these live shows. If the wee tingle that the punters will hopefully get when they buy a ticket. And I'm glad to say that in recent years I thought, why not take the plunge? In recent years I've been doing more and more and more of this kind of stuff. So it's almost like a vanity project, John. You think, like the Edinburgh Fringe, anybody that appears there, they don't do it for the money. See, by the time you've taken all your expenses into account, the venue, staff at the venue, costs of accommodation. Imagine what that's like in Edinburgh in the summer. Yeah. And I was also at Edinburgh. It was the summer, it was the festival, it was the height of the tourist season. And there was two chaps called Noel and Liam who were in town as well. So trying to get a hotel room and that was incredible. But you're not really doing it for the money. And that's why I've got the greatest of respect for the young kids that go to the festival, young, upcoming stand-ups who are dreaming of being spotted, of making their name. Because I spoke to plenty of them last year, and I was trying to be like the generous uncle with some of them, take them under my wing a wee bit, because you would end up buying them a couple of pints here and there, or a wee bite to eat even on a couple of occasions. And these were kids that were telling me. There was one young guy I met, and he'd only come through for Dunfermline, but rather than do that travel every day, because even though he'd get the train, presumably, still adds up. He had a tent and he pitched it up at the Meadows, you know, the Meadows in Edinburgh, right? And he basically pitched his tent, and that was his digs. And here was me, because I'm 56 and I wasn't really concerned about the money side. I was staying in a lovely hotel up at the Royal Mile. I was meeting up with pals every day after my shows. We were having a drink, we were going for a curry. But I thought, wow, for these young kids, try to start out, I could only doff my cap to them and wish them well. And I was helping at the end of it. I said, Joanne, I've got quite a good following in the social. Joanne, give me your name, tell me where your show is, show me a poster, and just try to support them. You know what I mean? But that's what I'm up to then later on this year. And as I say, the exciting thing is, with both the Edinburgh Festival and then the tour of Scotland in September, I'm already started thinking about gags. I might start writing them now about Scotland winning the World Cup and Motherwell playing in the Champions League. I need to get my finger out and start getting material for that. So there you go. So it'll be a busy autumn.
Yeah, it's certainly going to be busy for you. Now, so we'll go back to World Cup. Now, the last time we were at the World Cup, when Colin Hendry was captain of Scotland at the World Cup, you were a team captain yourself on a game of two halves.
That's right.
Halcyon days. What do you remember about that period?
Oh, a game of two halves was brilliant. That was my first kind of telly stuff I got to do. We did that for 96, I think it was. Now, for younger listeners, it was originally... It started a year before I get involved, and it was a light-hearted football panel show hosted by Jim White, the famous Jim White, and the team captains were Tony Roper, best known for Rab C. Nesbitt and the Steamy, of course, and Dennis Law, who needs no introduction. But with the best one in the world after a year, the producer, who was Phil Differ, the genius who created Only an Excuse, they kind of realised, and I think Dennis realised himself, it wasn't really his thing to be doing a light-hearted, hopefully quick-witted football panel show. And even you could argue Dennis was a wee bit out of the look with Scottish football and the minutiae of, you know, the first division in Scotland and what the players at Airdrie had been up to that week. So after a year, they decided to kind of shuffle the pack a wee bit. And Phil, who knew me through, he very graciously would allow me to write some stuff for Only an Excuse, wee dribs and drabs from time to time. I had already been doing Off the Ball for, what would that have been, 2-3 years. I was in the newspapers writing about the football. So Phil gave me a wee break with that, and we did it, I think, for 2 years, maybe, certainly, to try to think. But it was great fun. And then that teed me up lovely, because what that also did, between the radio, the newspapers, and then getting a wee crack at the telly, it kind of all combined. And then at the summer that we played the World Cup finals, I knew that I was coming back for the World Cup to join the Daily Record, having been with the Evening Times for 7 years previous. So it was anything I was doing at that point was giving you a bigger kind of pedestal to stand on. So that was a big move for me to go to a national newspaper, the famous Daily Record. So the summer of '98, it was quite a time. I'd never been to see Scotland at a World Cup. I don't even think I'd been to France in my life. I don't think I had. I had certainly never had a work gig like that, where me and Stuart were able to spend 2.5 weeks, I think we got in total out there at the World Cup, and it was busy, because every day I sent back a kind of diary style column for the Evening Times, and every day, and then we did an extra one after each Scotland game, we would do a show for the BBC. So it wasn't just like, unlike our dear Tartan Army colleagues who we saw them all over France, of course, we weren't just out and getting pished. And then, I always had something to do. So we actually were almost living like monks out there in France, because we had to have our heads screwed on. But great times. And that's how I wish. I'm not going myself, and you might want to ask me about that. Stuart's not going either. But for all the young team, for all the young Tartan Army guys, for the folk who've never had the chance to experience this before, I wish them well, and I would urge them to forget all the crap that is going to surround this tournament, with Trump, with visas, with red tape, with prices and that. Just go and enjoy it. That'd be my message to them.
Yeah, there's certainly mixed messages which we won't go too much into, but good luck to anyone that does go. I'm personally not able to afford to go, but I wish everyone all the best, including guys who are on this podcast, of course. Now, we'll come back to it just a little bit later, but let's go back to your childhood. So, what are your memories of following the national team growing up?
None. I never ever was quotes, a Scotland fan. Fan being short for fanatic, a fanatic who would go and see the football. So for me, watching Scotland was strictly a TV job. And again, with a lack of, I was born in 1969, got my first season ticket Motherwell 1979. So let's go back to when I was 10, when you could say when I bought into football. For a couple of years before that, because we lived maybe only a mile down the road from Fir Park, me and my wee pals and that, because it was like seeing like the castle and the Wizard of Oz. It was just this place. It was away up the top end of Motherwell. You'd see it lit up in the sky for a midweek game when we were out playing hunts or raiding gardens for tumshies and playing kick the can and stuff that kids did then. But then when we started getting up as a wee posse and getting a lift over the turnstiles you could do then, that got you into the bug. But then it became official for me 1979 when I got a season ticket for my 10th birthday, and I've renewed it every year since. But if I take you back to then with Scotland, so when I'd have been 10, for me, it would have been watching the big Scotland-England game, the annual Scotland-England game, the home championship. First one I'd have remembered would have been 77 when I was 8, but it was such a spectacle because Scotland winning, the fans on the park, the turf getting pulled up, the crossbar smashing, the fact there was about 10 England fans in the entire stadium, then stuff like that lives with you. But that, to me, I would have watched the Scotland games. Saturday back in the day for me, before I was then a season ticket regular at Fir Park, Saturday for me would have been up to my with my mum, my dad, my wee sister, up to my granny's in Hamilton. And I always remember that's where I would have watched the Scotland games, because we were always there on a Saturday. And God almighty, even for Scotland games, for big Scotland games, Scotland, England, there was no question. It was 3 o'clock on a Saturday. Yeah. That's when football was played. So that would have been it. So the halcyon days of boys like Gordon McQueen and Joe Jordan and Alan Ruffin goals and all that, and growing up with a great Scotland team. But the very idea, we couldn't have afforded that. I mean, you're talking about some things never change. You're talking about how now you can't afford going to America. Going to Scotland games at Hampden, I know the prices wouldn't have been probably as ridiculous, even allowing for the two generations on or whatever it is, when maybe the football wasn't as dear as it is now. But even then, that would have been a luxury, certainly we couldn't have afforded to go and watch Scotland. So definitely the telly. Definitely the telly for me.
Yeah. And do you remember your first World Cup? Would that have been 78 or are you more than 82?
No, 78. The memory I always say with Stuart's a bizarre memory. But the thing that I remember about 78 is in the night that Archie Gemmell scored his goal, I was watching it and my neighbour, 2 doors up, Scott Brunton, and his mum at half time, don't ask me what the score was at half time, because I remember we went 3-1 up with Archie's goal and then they get the Johnny Rep goal back that killed it, right? But whatever the score was at half time, the football didn't matter because my mate's mum appeared with our supper and she had done me, and I thought, oh, wow, this is posh. She had done us toast topped with a tin of Heinz baked beans with the wee sausages in it. Right?
The sausages, wow.
Right. Now, I'll tell you, I thought that was like cordon bleu, Michelin star cooking. And I've never seen that before. These wee sausages in with the beans. I love toasted beans. I love sausage on toast, but I've never had toasted beans with sausage. And it's a strange but vivid memory. So that's where I watched that game. And that's just about all, because I was 9. That was just about all that I could remember for that World Cup would have been Archie Gemmell's goal. And other than that, it's kind of, I remember the great, and you'll know what I mean by this if you've ever looked back in clips at World Cup, it was a very colourful World Cup. See when you see video clips with ticker tape and the very lush pastel colours it on, you saw these stadia in Argentina. It might even have been the way it was filmed back then or whatever, but there was a warmth to it. It was obviously a very hot country, but honestly, apart from Archie Gemmell's goal, I would need to tell you the truth, as is for the Cubias performance for Peru against Scotland when he was magnificent, and the debacle that was Iran, the draw, and only courtesy of an OG. That was mere clips that I remember watching in later life. But the 78 World Cup, to me, it was Archie Gemmell's goal and toast with beans with sausage through it.
Yeah, definitely. It sounds like a great memory, and obviously the hype of going into that World Cup was just off the scale because there was a promise of winning the World Cup. Jock Stein then comes in, guides us to 82, and it was a bit of a more realistic feel to it. But yeah, the great track we have a dream, which went to number 5 in the chart, and you saw them all on top of the pops, and just a great times. What do you recall about that time?
Again, it would mainly be the song. And the fact that I wish I had an original copy on vinyl of the record We Have a Dream, because it became a collector's item. I knew that for a fact, because out of all the stars that were on it, was obviously B.A. Robertson had written it and he was at the front of it. And then you had other performers, like most notably an old pal of mine, Christian, the great Scottish cabaret star who only passed away fairly recently. And then, of course, you had all the squad and that, and you had some other folk like Dee Hepburn, and I think it was Claire Grogan maybe in there as well.
I'm not sure, but John Gordon Sinclair
Sinclair front and centre, and again, what a great time for him. Gregory's Girl had just been such a hit. Maybe wasn't appreciated for a number of years, but he got involved. But the reason I wish I had a copy of the record, the reason it becomes a collector's item, because record collectors love this kind of stuff. Another chap that was there under the celebrity umbrella was the champion jockey Willie Carson for Stirling originally. And Willie Carson, Willie's name was spelled Willy. And Willie Carson is with an IE at the end. But it appears on the record label wrongly spelled. Now, you ask any record collector, that gives that value, because, you know, it's something a wee bit different, something a wee bit kitsch, you know. But the song, I'll be honest with you, I still get goosebumps when I hear it now. And there was a lapsed period where you never heard it for a while. And then I'm trying to think what the occasion would have been. I wonder if you know, when it seemed to get brought back, maybe 10, 15 years? It then became hugely popular again, and almost for a whole new audience.
Yeah.
And that, again, would be my biggest memory. Other things, that the free kick that Scotland seemed to invent, that as if they made an arse of it. And then when the opponents had kind of were reshuffling the ranks, turns out they hadn't made an arse of it, and it was all a treat. You remember that?
Yeah,
like maybe John Robertson and
John Robertson,
Gordon Strachan, maybe central. We certainly did it against New Zealand, and it worked a treat. And again, 1982 for me, as much as folk going about every day, it's a cliche in football now, any team that's doing well, other like Brazil 1970. I think the Brazil 1982 team was right up there. And Zico, the star man, and some of the things he did against Scotland and against a bemused, a mesmerised Alan Rough, it was incredible. So, again, funny that memories, 82. Again, it's no first and foremost the actual football. It was that song and seeing. It seemed bizarre being 13-year-old. I'd only no long started at high school, so you had to watch Top of the Pops because at that age, peer pressure. You had to know it was in the charts if you had any chance of a wee dance with one of the girls at the school disco, right? There was no point no knowing a wee bit about the pop music. So I never missed Top of the Pops. And to see the Scotland players on Top of the Pops in the studio with the audience dancing as they're singing "We Have a Dream," it was quite incredible. So that would be my biggest memory, I think, of that. Fantastic. And it is. I always bump my gums about Andy Cameron's Ali's Tartan Army, which is majestic. And that, I say it all the time, the line that Lennon and McCartney could only dream of having written, England can't do it because they didn't qualify. Oh, joyous, right? But in terms of the overall song, and even the tune, and even the orchestration, and the reprise, if that's the right word, that we have a dream. Honestly, I nearly get goosebumps here again. So 1982 would be my greatest ever song. And for me, man for man, it was a great Scotland team who, again, how many times have we said it? They should have done better. We should have got through. I know that's the holy grail for us, perhaps this time. Can we get through to the knockout stages? The cynics will say, well, it's getting easier and easier. There's no excuse if you don't. You know what I mean? Stevie Clark, he's got, it's easier now. But be great if we did it, but certainly I think we should have in 82. But that for me, I doff my cap again, the Brazil team. I can still watch the highlights for that tournament and watch them in their pomp, and they were absolutely amazing.
What do you remember in terms of memorabilia that would have been out round about these two tournaments? Because I remember Italian 90, the Coca-Cola football, the SL coin collection, things like the Panini sticker albums. Was there anything like that in your childhood?
Again, I don't want to have you out with a violin here, John, but memorabilia was for the boys in my street whose mum and dad had the money. Like my pal Gary Hunter, whose dad worked offshore. And he was invariably, that Gary was the guy that always had the brand new Adidas Bamba trainers, and he was into his Subbuteo. So before anybody could dream of it, he had like the floodlights and all the peripheral stuff. So he grew up with a bit of money. He'd have been a memorabilia man. We would have sooner spent our money on putting a dinner on the table than memorabilia. So I have zero recollection of Scotland memorabilia. But one thing I would have, I got later in life. Now, did I take that to the World Cup in 98? I think I did. I had a replica Scotland shirt for 82. You know, the good one with the wee kind of, was it the wee chevrons down the sleeves and that?
That was 78, that one.
Was it? The 82 one, was it dying? What was it? It was down the sleeves. But it was a great...
Plain.
I thought it was a great top. So I had a replica shirt from 82 in 98, but that's as close as I got. I was never... What is with general terms? I was having a clear out recently in the house. And I was never a collector of memorabilia, and I would pass it on. Motherwell stuff I'm talking about, I'd pass it on to forever guys, places that I go and guys will say, oh Tam, here, I knew you were coming to our gig the night. I could be up in Inverness. Here's something I hadn't. I wanted to give that to you. And it's maybe an old football programme for 1970s, the Texaco Cup, Spurs against Motherwell. And I say, it's very nice. I say, I'm not going to lie to you, I don't collect stuff like this, but I know a man that does. And I'll pass it on to one of my pals. When I was having a clear out recently, Motherwell played a Spanish team, Levante, who were from Valencia, beautiful city, and we went out there under Stuart McCall, it would have been, and I was there. My pals that I was with in that trip were all on the Motherwell board, guys that I grew up with, just like me, season ticket holders, but they were on to banking and finance and all that, done very, very well for themselves, and they'd got on the Motherwell board, but I was unofficially in their party, so because of that, I was the recipient of a quotes gift that was given out by the opposition directors. Right? Oh, here we go. And they gave me, it was a lovely wee, it fitted snugly into a small shoebox, shall we say. And it was a scale model of the Levante Stadium, which I couldn't even name, right? But that was a wee souvenir of the Levante Motherwell fixture, right? But again, there are some football fans who, when I found that, they bought me a cupboard when I was having a clear out very recently. There are some fans whose hearts would be aflutter at discovering something, but memorabilia has never done it for me. So I've got that. I'm about to give that to a good home, if you can suggest one, and then I'll find out whoever it was that I gave it to. They sold it on eBay for 12 grand, and I'll be sick. But so no, when it comes to memorabilia, including Scotland, I was never really into it.
Nah, that's fair enough. I appreciate the honesty on it. Now, Mexico was next in Scotland, obviously, to overcome that tragic loss to Jock Stein en route to qualification. The most memorable moment of that tournament is obviously Strachan's goal in celebration against West Germany. They know the leg over on the Hordens, but it was another LX, and it all comes down really to the Uruguay game where we had 89 minutes to beat 10 men, and it just didn't happen.
I know, that scything even tackle that went in right through the back of wee Gordon Strachan, and your man, a very experienced referee. There was no hint of any bias or him having taken a bung or anything. I can still visualise the referee, and he was one of the top dudes at the time. And 89 minutes, and then what was deemed a sitter by Stevie Nicol, you remember that? And what was majestic about it, I hope the clip's still on YouTube, but they had a camera on Ian St John in the ITV studio during the game. It's a thing of the day, kind of 10 a penny now in TV studios. They film somebody when they're watching. Quotes their team, might be a pundit. I saw it recently with Lawrence Shankland doing his punditry in a Hearts game, and he was getting carried away. But the great clip, and ended up showing it in the show that none of us missed as a kid with Dennis Norden. It'll be all right in the night. And it was Ian St John. Well, the effing and blinding, all the bleeping it had to get done because it was deemed a tap-in for Stevie Nicol. He just apparently had to side fit it into the net and would have been through to the next round. I don't think it was that easy. It was another and Smith must score. Gordon Smith gets a hard time for that and Smith must score. It was a good save by Gary Bailey. But the Stevie Nicol one, the clip of Ian St John is priceless, right? I really hope, I'm saying that aloud on air to you, hoping that folk will go and be able to dig it out. If you do find it, please send it to me. But that was a memory. Gordon Strachan, as you say, it was the ones that you mentioned, him trying to get the leg over with the advertising hoarding. But I watched that. There's always something with these World Cups something else that stuck in my mind. So whether it was beans on toast with the sausages in 78, whether it was We Have a Dream, the song for 82, in 86, the summer of 86, I probably watched all the Scotland games with one eye closing because I had started a window cleaning round in Motherwell, and that took over my summer. And I would try to fit the job run about the games. So I was invariably going out and knock my pan in. Because it was a summer, I tried to get an early start because I'll tell you it was hard graft. And of course, what summer we do have, it was very, very warm. The games would have been on, I'm guessing, for what, afternoon through to the evening. So I would have knocked my pan in by day, getting them. Don't get me wrong, at that age, 17 I would have been that summer, great money, and it was only £1 a door. Wow. See, when I think the graft, out with carrying ladders about, the 4 apartments in our scheme, down the bottom and up the state, £1. And I thought, wow, when I think back, that was nothing. So, but £1 a door soon added up. And then, but it was hard graft. So because of that, I think I'd have been a wee bit sleepy when I was watching these World Cup games. So, a lot of it would have passed me by as well. But again, another year when, and it's a Uruguay game. No, we should have done better.
Yeah, definitely. So £1 a door. I mean, it would have been probably more pound notes in those days. My 11-year-old son sitting next to us thinking, what's a pound note?
What's a pound note?
Yeah, we'll show you. We'll do Google images later. So.
And what a clean windies, whereas I get right into the corners. I was noted by that by my dear neighbours. That was the other thing, because when you were doing it for your neighbours, you didn't want any word to get back to your mum. Hey, Isa, your boy's stiffing us there for £1. The windies are still mock it. No, I did a good conscientious job.
If you had your windows cleaned by Tam Cowan, get in touch and let us
Aye,
know if you did a
absolutely.
good job. So on to Italian night, which I said was my first tournament, and
Right.
Andy Hughes it was, but he then got us to the tournament, which got some of the critics off his back. But of course, this was the one where it just springs Costa Rica. Now, this was the first World Cup that you would have been of legal drinking age.
Yep.
This year is mine, and I'm 45 on Monday,
Right?
Because I was 17 at France 98. So, what was your memories of watching that World Cup?
Right, you gave me the 3 teams that we played again.
It was Costa Rica lost 1-0, Sweden won 2-1, and then Brazil lost 1-0.
Yeah, right. Well, my memories of that, obviously, that calamitous goal, Costa Rica, right? That was kind of quite bad defending. That wasn't great. As far as the drink, that goes with the Sweden game. I watched that in Edinburgh. I was 21, watched that with some pals. And although the best drinking story about the Sweden game was that a mutual pal of me and Stuart Cosgroves, a great guy who's no longer with us, called Tommy Orr for Perth, he ran a sports bar in Perth. And in the night, and he got away with us, because it was just so funny, he got away with it. On the night of the Sweden game in his sports bar, he had a Swedish theme night, and he basically charged double for every drink. And anybody who's been to Stockholm or anywhere will know exactly what I mean by that. And it was a wee gimmicky thing, it got in the papers and all that at the time. We only did it for an hour. Like a normal happy hour might have been an hour, right? Yeah. So for 1 hour, any drink you bought, sorry, it's a Swedish theme night. It was, but I think the fact that we won that night, I think, was it Stuart McCall?
Yeah.
Maybe get it's kind of slightly scrappy winner for a corner and stuff. But I watched that in Edinburgh. And then, the skiddy pitch and the late goal, another hard luck story. But again, I tell you, if 82 for me was the peak with the Brazil team, they started being a wee bit on the slide after that. And by 1990, I know they had the odd superstar in their team, but they were a shadow of their former selves, and we should have eked out a draw against Brazil. Mm-hmm. But, you know, a wee bit of slight sloppiness in defence, a skiddy pitch, Jim Leighton, no really his fault, but that was disappointing. But, the sports bar, it's funny, again, your memory is a great thing for that. And when you start dipping into a wee bit of nostalgia, but for some reason, I always remember chuckling about the Swedish theme night up in I think it was the Sportsters, it was called, up in Perth, with my late great pal Tommy Orr, who I got to know very, very well through Stuart. Mm-hmm. But fabulous. And Tommy, my World Cup connection with him in 1998, before you move on to that, tickets were at a premium, and we were with Tommy on the day of the Brazil game. Now, me and Stuart, very, very thankfully, we had our accreditation. We were getting in there, the BBC, and Tommy and another couple of guys that we knew, we were hanging about with them on the day of the game. Tommy, no ticket, and he thought, no sniffy a ticket, and any tout that you did see, Scotland, Brazil, the World Cup opener, 1 billion audience worldwide. Imagine what the touts were taking for a ticket for that. And then almost we were overheard by, was it a Romanian guy or something? I don't know what it was. You were looking for a ticket? And yeah, I'm looking for a ticket. And Tommy says, here we go. How much? How much? And the guy pointed at the ticket, basically meaning face value. And Tommy got a face value ticket. And and then it turns out this face value ticket was up in the main stand. And Tommy, this was bizarre. Tommy was sitting right next to, I hope I've got the characters right here. Tommy was sitting right next to Walter Smith and Archie Knox, who'd have been there maybe in the SFA ticket or whatever, they'd have been riding high in Scottish football domestically at the time. Mm-hmm. So Tommy ended up sitting with these guys. When he got chatting to them, obviously he knew them, boy for Perth and all that. And Tommy had a great day for a face value ticket. A better day than me and Stuart had, because we were in the media section in 98, and these guys weren't interested. We kept looking there for the media section. You're sitting next to guys at monitors and all that, and these guys were from Poland, Jamaica, Ecuador, and it was just a joke to them watching Scotland, Brazil. We're looking away on the other side of the stadium, all the Scotland fans, all the Brazil fans, and we're thinking, that's where we want it to be, but it was a terrible viewing position we had. But in 1990, the worst view was just seeing that ball almost trundle into the net when it slid away for a helpless Jim Leighton on the greasy, wet pitch. Yeah. And then that was Brazil 1-0. What was it? Something like the 83rd minute or something?
Something like that. And then Taffrell makes an unbelievable save from Will Johnson at the 89th minute.
And I'll tell you, if there's one thing the Brazilians weren't noted for, it was their goalkeepers and great saves. You could watch them back in their pomp, whether it was 70 or whether, in my opinion, 82. And the one thing about the Brazil teams was you had to have a goal back at them, because invariably their defence and they were never the superstars. Yeah. It was the only defenders that you knew of were the guys that would maybe come up in the right wing, as maybe they invented wing backs rather than right backs. And certainly the goalies, terrible. But who, when you're growing up playing on a beach in Rio, who wants to be the goalie when you can be an outfield player and do all the fancies and have the bikini-clad girls watching you and all the rest of it, So I wasn't surprised that they didn't produce goalkeepers. And again, who wants to wear gloves when you're out in temperatures in Brazil? But no, they were. So 1990 again, that side just kind of sums it up.
Yeah.
I really hope we do better this year.
I think a side definitely sums up Italia 90. Then on to France 98. You obviously were fortunate to be there.
That's a audible metaphor for us, because the time is marching on. I never hide in for the listeners of radio. It's 2 minutes to 3. I'm about to watch some football, so we'll get this motoring now, John.
Yes, I'll be as quick as I can here. So France night, the build up to the opening game, just incredible. We've not had a build up like it, simply because it was the opening game. And just to sum up your memories of France night, although you've talked about it a wee bit.
France 98, it was a first proper trip with the BBC. Off the Ball was 3 years old. Show was doing really well. We had a great audience. It seemed it was a no-brainer, right? Stuart and Tam, you're going to the World Cup. Great. I get sunstroke, which I've recalled many a time. I was bedridden for a chunk of that period out there. Really, really unwell. If anybody's had sunstroke, you're roasting hot 1 minute, very feverish, freezing cold the next. Very strange. Had to call the doctor, ended up getting a jag up the arse to make me better. The football at that point, I just wanted to go home. And then other memories being the World Cup opener, for us to be there. Me, famously, as I bored people away, having a pee next to Pele, because we did have the media ticket. I took a wander into an area. I think we effectively had the accreditation, the lanyard. It was effectively access all areas. So I wandered into the line. Must have been the dignitaries' toilet or whatever, the VIP's toilet at half time. And I had my full 3-piece tartan suit on, kind of Bay City Rollers tartan from Benkind. It was made by the very, very talented team at Slange in Glasgow. They guys, it was a sponsorship deal via the Evening Times, so I was still away in Glasgow. And I think it might have been Tartan Special, the beer. And Tam, if we made you a suit up and all the rest of it, blah, 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 would you wear it at the World Cup opener? I said, of course I would. And to be fair, it was a handmade, hand-stitched suit that was, fitted me like a glove, right? And my memory is, and it was a wee bit, Pele was a great footballer, but I think his brains were all in his feet. His brains were on his boots, because I was stood in that toilet that I probably wasn't meant to be in. I'm at the urinal, having a pee, mind my own business, and I turned round and it was a full-on double take. And, preparing himself at the urinal next to me, it was Pele. With a suit and all that one. He'd just come for I think he was sitting with Michel Platini and a couple of the UEFA guys. And I just did the classic double take, And before I could say it, I don't think I could say it, I was absolutely dumbstruck, right? Pele finished his business. I was still peeing. I think I had maybe more pints than maybe he did. And Pele took a step back. Bear in mind, I'm in a three-piece tartan suit. He pointed at my garb up and down, and then he went with a smile on his face. Scotland? And I felt like saying, good guess, Edson. Right, you know what I mean? Come on. We're at the Scotland-Brazil game. It's the World Cup opener. I'm in a three-piece tartan suit rather than whatever the national garb of Brazil is, but it's not a three-piece heavy worsted tartan suit. I was sweating buckets. Scotland? Aye, good guess, pal. So, my only regret, because of my OCD, is that I didn't reach out and shake his hand, because if you're following the story, he just had his pee, he hadn't yet washed his hands, couldn't bring myself to do it. So I just said, a pleasure to meet you, and that was my only exchange with Pele, and we went our separate ways. But something that I'll never forget.
It's definitely not a pee with Pele. That could be a title for the podcast in itself.
It could, and how... Just about who you would appear next. I mean, one of my dear pals, Gordon Smart, who was former editor of the Scottish Sun, he took me there. My Mo Johnston move in newspapers. He headhunted me for the Daily Record to the Scottish Sun in 2014. And Gordon, who, when he had been the kind of the pop roving reporter with the Sun in London for years, doing the bizarre pop pages, and gone to every music gig under the sun, all the concerts, the Brits and everything, the Mobos, when he was going to all that stuff, he was toying with the idea, and I don't know why he never did it, with his name being Gordon Smart. He was wanting to do a book called Flush Gordon. Flush being the pun on toilets, and it was basically based on who he'd had a pee next to, because you never know who you were going to have a pee next to when he was at these big A-lister music events. So a pee with Pele, you're not the first person to have suggested that to me. I thought originally it was at the time that Gordon said about Flush Gordon, I thought, what about a pee with Pele, ... and other people, because even in my own non-A-list life, I have had a pee with at award shows. And the one night, and I could do a book about the two of them alone, I had a pee next day at a BAFTA event. My old telly show, Offside, was fortunate enough to win a BAFTA for Best Regional Sports Programme. And, it was A-list guys there. And that night alone, there was three of them. I had a pee at different times next to Christopher Lee, right? Dracula, Scaramanga. I had a pee next to Jimmy Tarbuck, the famous Scouse comedian, great host of Sunday night at the London Palladium, live at Her Majesty's, the man who presented the show the night Tommy Cooper famously died. And I had a pee next to as well that night, Bernard Cribbins, the late great British actor, comedian Bernard Cribbins. Now, there's a great place to start, and I never ever get round to it.
Well, there's still room for it, and a nice wee bit of toilet humour to
there is. Aye.
Bring this in. So I've just got a couple of quick questions that have come from our podcast team and stuff, so this will not take long. So Dr. Grant Campbell, who I believe you've been on his podcast before, his question to you is to name a Scotland World Cup five-a-side team made up from one player from each of the World Cup 78 to 98. So that's one from 78, 82, 86, 98 or 90 and 98. What would your five-a-side team be?
78, so I've got to go for Archie Gemmill. 82, and I'll go because we recently lost him, and when I was a kid, I loved this guy as a player, John Robertson.
Yeah.
Right? If I move it on to 86, another guy I'm a huge fan of, and I'm delighted. I've got to pinch myself sometime. Come to say what a day in my life. You get to know people in Scottish football that I just always adored from afar. And the guy gets scythed down against Uruguay, Gordon Strachan. So I've got, you notice it's all real good ball players I'm going for. So Archie Gemmill, 78, John Robertson, 82, Gordon Strachan, in 86, because in any five-a-side team you do need a good goalie, and I felt so sorry for him against Brazil in the 90 game, and I always thought he was a smashing goalie. Jim Leighton, I was a big fan of Jim Leighton. And then when we move it on to 98, I've got to chuck one defender in there if it's a proper five-a-side team, right? But man, it's an attacking five-a-side team. I've got the goalie at the back. I've got three very creative players in Robertson, Gemmell and Strachan. But I'll go with the man who is the totem, if you like, of the 98 movement, big Braveheart himself. I'll go with Colin Hendry.
Yeah.
When you think of him out there with the kilt and all that on, an hour before kick-off, walking about the pitch, you think of him leading the boys out the tunnel, and the whole Braveheart thing that we all get caught up in that year. So that's not a bad team.
That is a pretty good team, and Colin Hendry, of course, keep you up is at Prestwick Airport in the World Cup video.
Aye,
let's not forget.
That's right.
Graham Easton, the Hampden DJ, or Hampden presenter.
When at the 98 World Cup, Stuart Cosgrove had a dance in the hotel in Bordeaux. Who did we play in Bordeaux?
Norway.
Right, he had a dance with Colin Hendry's mum.
Nice.
She was there. Somebody had got the accordion out in the hotel, loads of Tartan Army guys. Somebody started giving it a wee bit of Jimmy Shand, and Stuart got up and he danced with this lady who, after it said, like a proper old school Scottish lady, very humble, quite shy. After the dance, do you know who I am? Stuart said, no, I'm Colin's mum, Colin Hendry. And so Stuart enjoys telling that story.
That's a great story. So yeah, Graham Easton asks him, who would your ideal guest on Off the Ball be in terms of player, TV personality and comedian? And it can be ones you've had on before.
Right. What are the three categories?
A player, a TV personality and a comedian.
Right, comedian is an easy one, right? And I'm sadly not going to get him on. Sir Billy Connolly, right? Had the great pleasure of meeting Billy 3 times in my life. And he's just the best. An audience with Billy Connolly that was first shown in Channel 4, 1984, remains the greatest TV programme since John Logie Baird invented the damn thing, right? And Billy, serious health issues now. We're not going to get him on the show, but he would have been my dream. If this is all about fantasy stuff, right? Mm-hmm. The player, he's so hard to get. But only because to say thanks for all the fun that we've had with him down through the years. Ali McCoist. But I've worked with Ali at a few events, football events. He's brilliant. He's good value. Great value. But the reason I'd be wary, and he'd be the first to admit it, the reason I'd be wary with Ali McCoist, notoriously he's a bad timekeeper.
Yeah.
And I would hate us sitting there 5 to 12 on a Saturday. Where's Ali? Where's Ali? And he doesn't show up. Or, I forgot I was on her. My alarm didn't go off. Or, I took another booking. But Ali, I can't think, he's provided us with so much. Mm-hmm. If I even go back in infancy, Off the Ball and Stuart, Stuart, you're the St Johnstone fan, and Stuart's memories at that time were mainly about Muirton, where Ali McCoist had kick-started his career. Mm-hmm. And then for him right through, with being a legend and the World Cup and all that. So definitely him as a star guest. And then, what was the other category?
TV personality.
TV personality. Oof, where did we start with that? Now we've had, I'll buy a bit of time here, we've had crackers who've had a wee tie-in with football. Let me say, like, folk that are always good fun, like, let's say a Lorraine Kelly. Lorraine's always great fun, big Dundee United fan, genuine Dundee United fan. She knows what the programme's all about. So it's great fun when you get Lorraine on. But a TV personality to get on, because I'm such a big fan of all his work, would be Steve Coogan.
Good shot.
I am an Alan Partridge nut, right? An Alan Partridge anorak. So I would love to get Steve Coogan on, and I would bow at his feet when he was sitting there in the studio. So that would be my dream team, if we could. And again, the dream team could, who knows, in the summer, Billy Connolly did move to Florida because the temperature agreed with him.
Yeah.
It's not that bad in Edinburgh in the summer, Billy, if you're tuned into this. If you wanted one last hurrah, we'll get you for one of our Edinburgh Festival shows when, strangely, coincidentally, we did have 3 guests many a time. And we had great guests, most recently guys like, and I was fans of them all, Paul Merton, Clive Anderson, Bobby Davro, for heaven's sake, right? So there's my dream team for the Edinburgh Festival Off the Ball show this year. Lorraine Kelly, Steve Coogan, and Billy Connolly.
That's it.
And I would die a happy man after that.
That would be a very good one. Grant Stott, in your top 5 of Off the Ball speed dial, he asked, do you secretly harbour a desire to be a professional singer?
No. I've always loved singing. I've always loved singers. Sorry, let me correct that. I've always loved singers. I grew up, courtesy of my mum and dad, what they listened to, and then what I found that I loved, what I would call, quotes, proper singers. I grew up enjoying guys like Frank Sinatra, Tony Bennett, Shirley Bassey, Mark Monroe, Perry Como, and I've always loved folk like that. And anybody with a great voice. So I'm a bit of a fan of the crooners, but I love all music. And then as far as the singing goes, what Grant means with that, of course, we jousted as rivals for a while around about COVID, when I had made up some daft songs at the time to amuse myself. And I did one about Iron Brew, my tribute to Iron Brew. I did a tribute as well to Professor Jason Leach, who we had on for his weekly surgeries on Off the Ball. I did all sorts of daft songs. Grant, of course, did a fantastic number called That's Fife, a pastiche, a parody of the Frank Sinatra classic, That's Life. So we had a wee bit of good-natured rivalry for a while. And but look, I do enjoy singing. I'm a frustrated performer when it comes to singing, because if there's a karaoke, or dare I say it, because I'm a man that likes to know the lyrics and know the songs that you're singing, a wee bit of the Monday Club, as it used to be called, that they have in many towns and cities in Scotland. Find yourself a boozer on a Monday, of course, with a live keyboard player and an MC. Right, who's want to come up and give us a song? There are quite a lot of songs that I know them inside out, and I can go up and do a number. And as long as I'm going to make you think I know what I'm talking about now, but as long as the keyboard player can get me off in B flat, if anybody tuned in, plays the keyboards and they call me up to sing with them in a pub, B flat, and then I stand a chance of holding a tune, right? But aye, I know where Grant's coming for that question, but aye, it'd be great. And I'll tell you why it'd be easier, because the stuff that I do on stage, I always say this, I worry too much. I've got a head full of shite, which means that I'll never run out of stories, anecdotes, jokes, anything, tall tales, right? But you sometimes panic. You think you could go and do a gig in Inverness, and you think, oh gosh, right, I was up in Inverness a year ago doing a gig. Now, it might not even be the same venue, might not even be the same people, but I immediately worry about, did I tell that story when I was up here before? If you were a singer, it's not an issue. If Neil Diamond was in Inverness 2 years in the bounce, 22 years in the bounce, and he sang Song Sung Blue, or Forever in Blue Jeans, or Sweet Caroline, or I Am I Said, or America, or any of his great hits, he would not give 2 hoots about having done that one before. And that's where, if you were a singer, a good singer, oh, what a career. I think that was where I missed my vocation. What a singer, it must be great. I would A, love to do it, and B, the heat is off you in terms of an audience who shout, "Heard it, Cowan. You tell us that one last year. Here's another one." Don't get that as a singer.
Yeah, you and Grant could probably pen a World Cup song, see how you got on together. But who would be your ideal artist to pen a Scotland World Cup song? I know it won't happen this year, but
Why will it not happen this year?
because you don't get many. They're not a big thing like they were in the 80s and the 90s. So.
Right, I'm going to leave you with a name here, and then with a ... a wee ellipsis after it, right?
Okay.
Because this might be an exclusive for you, and because it might happen. Ask me the question one more time and I'll finish with a name.
Who is going to pen this year's Scotland World Cup song?
Tam Cowan.
There we go. And what's it called?
That's my final word. That's your exclusive.
Right, okay, there we have heard it here first. Tam Cowan will be penning this year's Scotland World Cup song. Let's see how far we go. A couple quick more questions. So
That's my last word. You've got an exclusive. That's you. Name your quick questions. That's that. That's an exclusive.
No, Chris from our podcast asks, what's your favourite Muller memory and what's your favourite Hampden memory? I'm guessing.
Favourite Muller memory, the 6-8 draw with Hibs. Favourite Hampden memory, 4-3 Dundee United at the Scottish Cup final. Terrible question for him. What else did he think I was going to say? Next.
He also asked, it's been 20 years, but should we be boycotting this World Cup given everything that's going on?
No, because it's Scotland, there's a whole new generation, and don't let an absolute trumpet like that president who they inexcusably voted in to put you off going to what I think is a great country. I've holidayed there many a time, and all I'm going to say as well, and I had a good boisterous conversation, I wouldn't even call it an argument with folk, when I came to the defence of the Trump Turnberry Hotel. When I went there, what did you go there for? I says, I'll tell you why I went there, because it's a great local business, irrespective of who, quotes, owns it or put their name to it. 99% of folk who work there, for the cleaners through to the managing director, are all good local Ayrshire people trying to earn a copper coin. Why would I boycott the place that would put their jobs in jeopardy? Yes, we know Trump is effectively behind it, but he's very well known and he's got a media profile for very obvious reasons. What about all the other businesses? What about all the other corporate bodies that are a bit dodgy, but you don't know who's behind them? Folk wouldn't think necessarily boycotting them. What about all the tax avoiders, tax evaders on the high street? You know, the companies that I mean, who for some reason make billions and pay 30 quid a week in tax. Why are you not talking about a boycott of them? So America, I love the country to bits. I love the culture. I love the music. I love their movies. I love their people. I'm the biggest fan of Las Vegas, the city of sin, which I adore. Do not allow everything to be clouded by that absolute arsehole who currently resides in the White House in Washington.
Yeah, that's a very fair point. And the very last question, and we do thank you for your time, Tam. What chance do you have of making history, progressing to the latter stages? And a follow-on question for that: what's going to be your ritual for watching the Haiti match?
My ritual for watching the Haiti match, I'll tell you right away, because it kicks off. What's the official kick-off time?
It's 2 a.m. on the 14th officially, or 15th
right.
Officially.
So it's going to finish at 2:45 in the morning, 4:45,
Aye.
Almost 4 a.m. our time, right? That'll be too late practically for the BBC Radio Scotland to say to us, do the after show. We are kind of pitching, and I say it in this building today, I say it aloud, we're pitching because me and Stuart are not bothered our backside about going in, and particularly, see if I thought I was taking a match ticket away for a young dude that's never seen Scotland at a World Cup, great, I'm fine, I've seen it. So we've already decided we're happy with the telly. So for the Haiti match, I think it'll be too late, or too early, even if you like, to do a post-match off the ball. But the thing that we're trying to pitch, and I think it's a good idea, is a kind of daily, and I mean every day during the World Cup, a kind of lunchtime or tea time off the ball World Cup diary. And we would then reflect back on the games from the night or the very, very early morning before. And I think that'd be a good way us doing the show. If that was the case, I can assure you that if we weren't due to be on air till lunchtime after the Haiti game or tea time, I, like a lot of folk, just to take in the atmosphere, to soak it in, I will absolutely, definitely be out in a good, respectable sports bar in Glasgow where I reside. I've got dear friends own a terrific place called the Clubhouse, which I do think is the best sports bar in Glasgow, perhaps even Scotland, mainly because it's got the best views of the numerous TV screens. Anywhere you are in it, you can see the game. I would happily sit there, enjoy the table service, another key thing, enjoy a drink, enjoy some food, watch and cheer on Scotland, and then come in at lunchtime, hopefully the next day, and reflect on the game with my pal Stuart. And I really do, to answer the second part of that question, I've got this dream. We have a dream. Even all the years after that 82 World Cup song, I think we all have a dream that for all these players that we've got now, and all the Serie A guys, we used to think not that long ago that our two world beaters, remember, it was always just Andy Robertson and Kieran Tierney. Oh, these guys are top end, and they're in the English Premier League, and that's a top league. And it was a wee bit of a shame that the two of them happened to be effectively left-sided defenders. If only we had guys like that in the middle of the park and up front. We could still do with a striker, right? But when you think of those Serie A guys that we've got now in the team, and I just keep wondering, and it's not quite happened yet, it kind of clicked against Denmark, right? Thanks, I would say, to some amazing individual, not just performances, but individual flashes of inspiration, the goals, right? I still hope and pray, John, I keep saying this ahead of every Scotland game, maybe tonight's the night, where all these guys, all the Serie A guys, all the English Premier League guys, the great talent that we've got here, that it all just gels. And I wonder if it could all just gel in the summer of 2026 and we sail through to the next round. And after that, anything is a bonus. But England in the final, with us winning the goal that actually smacked off the underside of the crossbar, didn't cross the line against England, but it was given. How many ghosts would that exorcise? Tremendous.
That is the perfect way to end this. So thank you again, Tam, for coming on.
You're quite welcome.
Podcast, and good luck with your tour, amongst other things.
Thank you.
We thank everyone, as always, for tuning to SFF Podcast, and keep your eyes out for more World Cup content over the next couple of months. But for now, happy football.